Hello, droidCon Americas. I'm Bianca from Romania, and together with my colleague Cesar from Germany, we are part of the Surface Duo DevX team at Microsoft from all around the world. Our job is to make developers' lives easier when enhancing their already existing applications for the dual screen experience. You can find us on GitHub, where we have some samples and application examples which showcase our libraries, and also on Twitter in case you want to connect with us. Before going further, I would like to introduce you to the new Surface Duo device, which was launched in the second half of this year. And I want to mention that it resembles our multi-monitor environment from the office, or in these times from home, increasing our productivity in a mobile way. So we can open two applications, which are side by side, in order to have more content, but less context switching. It also makes drag and drop make more sense, so you can move the images from one side to the other, also text and files. But you can also have only one application displayed on both devices at the same time to make the most out of them. How to do that? You can span the application. To span the app, you have to drag the bar at the bottom of each app and move it to the center of the device and then let it go so it takes the shape of the whole device. It's super flexible because of the hinge in the middle. It goes from 0 degrees to 360 degrees, and you can also get this value from our Cesar API in case you would like to do some creative stuff with it. So thanks to this flexibility, we have more postures. So besides the classical portrait and landscape mode, we also have dual portrait and dual landscape. Let's now talk about some terminology in order for us to speak the same language. So we call the application spanned when it covers both screens, as opposed to being maximized on a foldable device. We also call the space in between this hinge or the SIM. And also one consideration that we need to take into account is that when the application is spanned, device landscape is portrait for the app, and the other way around is also true. So device portrait means that the application is in landscape mode. Now, let's go to the software. So currently Surface Duo runs Android 10. The OS team is working to support Android 11 soon. And you can choose your preferred mobile technology to develop the application. So Java, Kotlin, Xamarin, React Native, Flutter, Unity, or PWA for the World Wide Web. For each of these technologies, we have documentation on our website, and also for our SDK and multiple details. And we're closely collaborating with our ISV partners in order to create more components to help them. You can also download the Duo emulator, install your application, and play with it to see how it behaves. Now let's talk about some user experience patterns for dual screen apps. We have found this to be 5 of the most used design patterns, but there are multiple others out there. So extended canvas represents an entire set of pixels in one place for applications such as maps, where you can have multiple locations at the same time, drawing for a larger virtual board, spreadsheets to prevent horizontal or vertical scrolling. Then, the list detail pattern shows a list of items on one side and the selection on the other. As you have seen in the videos before, this already applies to the Outlook application, but you can also have photos or collections app, scheduling, to-do, or other mail applications so that you can see the whole thread of an email in one place. Then, the to-page makes the device resemble a real-life book, so you can flip the pages, but also use it for any text content, so articles, magazines, or even long shopping lists for Christmas. Next, the dual view pattern shows one object in 2 different ways, so we can have content and context at the same time. For example, in case you would like to buy a house, you want to see all options available, but also how far they are from the supermarket or from the office. You can also help you for code reviewing, so see before and after changes side by side. And in case you would like to buy the best ergonomic chair out there, you can compare the ones you found. Last but not least, the companion pane pattern shows a list of controls on one side and the result on the other. It's often used with gaming, so you can have the controller but also the screen where the magic happens, and also for content creation tools in case you have an application which edits images. So you can apply filters but also go pro mode, so change the contrast, change the brightness. To further enhance the user experience, let's also talk about some consideration, because we have the physical space in between, but we also so we don't want to hide anything from the user, but we also want to take advantage of separating the two logical containers. So for the app dialogues, we have to move them to one side or the other so we can read the whole text. For system dialogues, this is already handled. Next, for bottom navigation or drawers, you can have the same approach or keep them at the bottom of both screens, but just split them. So, for example, you can have 3 on one side and the rest on the other. For drop-down menus, you have to move them above or below the item that was clicked. And for layout, you can keep the same ones from the single screen mode, but you can also very easily create separate layouts for dual screen experience using our SDK. Now, I will let my colleague Cesar talk more about this and the simple steps you need to take in order to make the most out of the dual screen experience.
Thanks, Bianca. I assume that everybody can see my screen, so then I'm going to continue. So Bianca has shown the basics of Surface Duo and also the UX and UI patterns, and then some consideration that we have to follow. So what I'm going to cover now is how to enhance an existing app. So how we can take advantage of having such a device as Surface Duo is with 2 different screens, no? That dual screen device, and also we can apply this to other foldable device. So for that, we have we have prepared a set of different three steps in order to get your app ready for dual screen devices. The first step will be just testing your app in the Surface Duo emulator. So your app in single screen mode should work and without any problem. So in one screen, either if it's left screen or right screen, your app should work. Then the second step will be making incremental changes. So you still, your app is still not taking advantage completely of having, of being span, as Bianca has explained before, no? When that span is when the app is using both screens, it's taking the whole surface of both screens at the same time. So here is your app is still designed for single screen mode, but we can take already advantage of some nice things that dual screen devices as Surface Duo provide. With that, you just can use, for instance, we already have APIs in the Android framework, or and then the third step is when we really want to take advantage of everything that the device as Surface Duo provides, so having 2 screens. So it's time here when we really we go from 0 to hero, when we become really a hero, and when we really take advantage of having this device or using all capabilities of this device. For that, we have provided a set of libraries and SDK. And also, we have the Jetpack window manager that we are going to see as well in order to take advantage of the new capabilities that new form factor devices provide. So we are going to see now a couple of incremental changes. So this will be the step number 2 in order for you to take advantage of having 2 screens in the same device. So the first incremental change that we could do is drag and drop. Drag and drop has been there forever. So really all times and all APIs in the Android framework, but was not till the period when the multi-window appeared, where drag and drop was made more sense, no? Because with multi-window, you were able to have one app in one side and then another app in another side. So you could be able to drag and drop content from one app to the other. But even though with multi-window, for instance, multi-window in a single screen device, is still not a lot of surface to see, not a lot, you cannot see a lot of content. So it's here now when new form factor devices appear, as for instance the Surface Duo or other foldable devices, where you have the capability of having like two apps side by side with that they also take advantage of the whole screen in order to have drag and drop. So what we are going to see in this sample is basically we have implemented two apps, one that is going to be what we call the drag app and another the drop app. So the first one, the drag, is going to expose a text view, and this text view is going to be the drag content, is going to be the source. And then the drop app is just going to be a simple edit text that is just going to accept text from that text view. And that's all. As you can see here in this image, you can see how we already started the process of dragging and drop from one app to the other. And you can see the shadow and how for instance, here we have a yellow background that where we show to the user that, hey, you can drop content here. Okay, how we can implement that? For implementing drag and drop, apologies. We have to, what we are going to do in the drag app is to override the on long click listener from the text view. Since the functionality that we want to provide, the drag functionality that we want to provide is just attached to the text view, we want to add that to the text view. So for that, we just implement the send on long click listener from the text view, and then we just override the on long click. Here, as you can see in the code, first thing we are going to see is just to check if our view is a text view. So then we are sure, imagine that you are using an app with different views, that we are just working on the specific one that we want. In our case, the text view. The second thing that we have to do is just to create an instance of clip data. In this case, from the content of the text view, the text, and then we already have the text that we will share. Then the second thing we have to do is to create the array of MIME types. In our case, that is just a text view. And this is a sample as well, so we know that we are just going to share a simple text, a text plain. So for that reason, we use the MIME type text plain. If you are, for instance, using other data, as for instance, images or music and so on, you have to adapt your MIME type to that. Then what we do now is to create also an instance of clip data with the tag of the view, the MIME type that we create above, and then the text that we want to share. Another thing that we have to do, or we want to do in order to provide a better user experience to our users, is to draw a shadow. So as you have seen in the previous screen, when we start the drag and drop interaction, we show the content that is being dragged. How we can implement that? Super simple and super easy. It's just using the drag shadow builder from the view and with the specific view that we want to use. Then this is really important. In order to create a drag and drop that works between apps, we have to use those flags, the drag flag global and drag flag global URI red, in our case, because it's just for read-only mode. So this is, as I said before, this is very important in order to have drag and drop capabilities between apps. And then the last step that we have to do for drag will be just invoke the start drag and drop function from the view with the data to share that we created, the drag or shadow builder that we have ready as well, and then the view and the flags that we define. And that's all. Then we return true, otherwise we return else. This is everything that we have to do for implementing drag, in our case, for text. So how we can implement drop functionality? As we are going to see here, it's also pretty simple. As we have seen before, and I said also, we are going to add the drop capability to a simple edit text. So for that, what we are going to do is just to implement the set on drag listener from the edit text, and then we are going to override the on drag function. The on drag function, as you can see here, it has two parameters, the view and the event. So the important thing for us in this function is the event, the drag event. So this function, the onDrag, is going to be invoked every time that we start the drag and drop interaction. So as soon as our finger, in our case, we have implemented with on long click listener on the text view, we start the drag interaction, the framework is going to invoke this function in the drop. So then we can react to the different drag events that they are going to be triggered. So for instance, the first event that will be triggered will be drag event action drag started. That it means that as the drag event said, that the drag action is started. So then here we can do things like, for instance, we can change the background of the drop area. So then our users know that, hey, the drop area of the drop area has changed. So it means that, hey, I can drop some content here. Or also you can do things like, for instance, adding a different text for your edit test, or many other things that you think is important or helps your user to understand that there is a drop area. Then we are going to handle the action drop. And here is where the real logic of the, or how we finalize the drop action, the drop part. And also we are going to have other drag events that we can handle, like for instance, when we enter in the drop area or when we leave from the drop area. We are not going to see because time constraints, but yeah, you know that we have more. Okay, how we can handle drop? As you can see here, we have passed the drag event, and with this parameter, the drag event that we are going to use in order to get all the data. So the first thing that we have to do is request drag and drop permissions using the event. Requesting drag and drop permissions is mandatory in order to have drag and drop between apps. So we have to do that, and then once that we already have the permission, is where we can already access to the content that was shared. So in our case, through the drag event, we access to the clip data that we created, and then we take just the item. This item, if you remember, was a text view, so we can access already to the text, and then this is the data that we shared originally. Finally, now that we have the text that we were sharing, what we have to do is just use the set text from the edit test with the data that we were sharing, and that's all. Then the edit test now will have the data that we were dragging. And then finally, the last thing that we have to do is to drop permissions, is release the permission that we requested. So if we don't do this, eventually when the activity is destroyed, the permission they will be also released automatically. And that's all. As you have seen here, implementing drag and drop is really simple, but really powerful. Imagine in a lot of different scenarios. I don't know, like for instance, drag and drop content from a web browser to your app, or drag and drop, I don't know, like imagine an email from an email app to your to-do app, and then this email becomes a to-do. So many different things that we can do. Another really small change that we can do, but also give us a lot, is to launch an activity to the adjacent screen when this is empty. So in Surface Duo, when we are running an app in one screen, and then for some reason we want to keep the user in the flow, then we can launch another activity in the adjacent screen. This also works in foldable devices or in other devices with multi-window, and actually also it works when you have the adjacent screen even when it's not empty. So this is actually really powerful, and as I said before, this is just using the Android framework, so we are not doing anything specific for Surface Duo. How we can implement that? Pretty simple. So we just have to create an intent as you are used with the context and then the activity that we want to launch. And then it's here when the key is here, the flags that we have to use. So the first thing will be flag activity multiple task or flag activity new task. As you can guess, those flags, what they provide us is to create a new instance of our activity. So in Surface Duo, when we launch an activity with those flags, the system is going to be clever enough to put this new instance in this new task in the adjacent screen when this is empty. In a multi-window, then we'll also take advantage of that and place your activity in the adjacent screen. And that's all. We start the activity and everything done. As you have seen, it's just two flags and that's all. Okay, and now is the turn where we really want to take advantage of having our app span across both screens. So when our app is using both screens, and now is time that we can provide a different user experience. So actually a more adjusted user experience to your users. So you have now more area, more surface to draw things or to put things. So you can follow, for instance, one of the different dual screen patterns that Bianca explained before in order to show your users a better experience. So for instance, here we have two apps that we have created. They are available on GitHub in our Hero Apps repo. This is the TwoNote app that is a note-taking app that when it's spanned follows the list detail pattern. So then you have your list items to one side and then the detail item in another side. You even have the capabilities to do inking and so on. And then the other app to my right is the source editor app that follows the dual view pattern. So here you can edit HTML code in the left screen, and then at the same time you are seeing the preview in the right screen. So there are a lot of different possibilities that you can achieve having two screens and following one of the two screen, the dual screen patterns that we have explained before. Okay. How to implement different dual screen UX and UI patterns. So I wanted to give you some tips about how to implement the patterns that Bianca has explained before. So for extend canvas, as Bianca has mentioned, this pattern is pretty useful for instance, when you have a map, no? And now you have two screens, you have more area. You can now move through the map, you can zoom in, zoom out, you can do more. How to achieve that, how to implement this pattern easily is pretty simple. You basically don't have to do anything. When you expand your app, the activity will accommodate using both screens, and then your UI will take advantage of having two screens. The only thing is like maybe be aware of the sim, because maybe there is content that is rendered behind the hinge. So you have to maybe do some changes. How to achieve or how to implement the two-page pattern. The two-page pattern, as Bianca has said before, is pretty useful for instance, for an e-reader app. No, so in single-screen device, you have one page, and then you swipe, and then you go to the next page or to the previous page, and so on. One of the things, the first thing that you realize when you have the Surface Duo in your hands is that really looks as a book, because the hinge capabilities, no, you can even put the Surface Duo as it will be a book. So then this is really useful. Surface Duo is really useful for reading. And how to implement the two-page pattern actually is basically what we will do in a single screen scenario as well. So we could have an activity with a view pager, and in single screen mode we have just one fragment and then when we swipe, we replace the fragment. And then when the app is in span mode in a dual screen device, as Surface Duo is, then instead of one fragment, we have two fragments, one for the left screen and another for the right screen. And then as we swipe, we change the fragments. One thing that you maybe cool thing is that maybe when the device is in dual landscape, maybe swipe from left to right, right to left make not a lot of sense. So maybe you want to implement a swipe from up to bottom or bottom to up. For list detail, dual view, and companion pane, the key here is to adapt your layout to use both screens, or one activity with two fragments, or one activity with one layout in one side or another layout in the other side. In order to achieve this pretty easy, we have our Surface Duo layout. Definitely you can do it by your own, but we already provide the Surface Duo layout that is going to help you in order to accommodate layouts or fragments when your app is in span mode. Now I want to explain how some components that will make your dual screen development easier. The first one is Jetpack Window Manager. Jetpack Window Manager, developed by Google, is really useful in order to work with new form factor devices as Surface Duo is. How to use Jetpack Window Manager? The first thing that we have to do is just to add the dependency, and then we are ready to go. As you note here, it's still in alpha, but Google is working hard on that. Two key things that Window Manager provides us. The first thing is the posture, is the device state. So using Window Manager for those devices that implement Window Manager, it gives you the information about the different postures that your device can have. If the device is completely open, if your device is closed, if it's flip, half open, or unknown posture. Another key information that the Window Manager provides you is the window layout info. So when Window Manager is able to get you information about the device that your app is running on, if it's a foldable device or it's a hinge device, as Surface Duo is. And in the case that your app is running in those devices, it can give you also information about where the feature, for instance, the Surface Duo device, where the hinge is located with the coordinates left, top, right, and bottom. How to use the Window Manager? So the Window Manager class is the main component that we have in order to interact with the Window Manager API. And the first thing, one of the things that we can do is register for device state changes. So every time that our posture, the posture of the device changes, then we are going to be a callback, and then we can react to this callback and do something. Two parameters that this callback receives: the executor, where our code is going to be executed, and then the device state with the posture information. And then the other callback is registered layout change callback. Here, what Window Manager is going to let us know is that when the app is running in a foldable device or a hinge device, is going to give us this information. And also, as I said before, the coordinates of the specific feature. In the Surface Duo case, the hinge. Of course, when we don't need the callbacks, we can unregister from there. So unregister device state changes or unregister layout from layout changes. Okay, now let's see some code, how we can implement how we can use Window Manager. So we are going to use just in a simple activity, we just declare a Window Manager variable. And then here in onCreate, what we do is just create an instance of the Window Manager with the context and a null backend. A null backend because what it does means is that we are going to use the default implementation of the Window Manager that our device has. If we want to provide a different backend, this is good for testing purposes, we can as well. And then here, what we do is register for device state changes. So every time that the posture of the device change, we are going to get notified, and then we can do something with that. Then here in an attached to window is where we can register for layout changes. So every time that our layout change, every time then this callback, we are going to get notified through this callback, and then we can do also something with that information. If you are thinking about why are we using on the attached to window, it's because if you use the callback will just invoke when the activity has been attached. If you declare this callback before, for instance, in onCreate, and the callback is invoked, then your app will crash. So here is a good place to do it. Another way to use Window Manager, in this case directly, for instance, will be using for instance, on configuration change, that is going to be invoked every time that the configuration of our device change. And then here, we can get access to the window layout info through the Window Manager. And here, this is very interesting. So as Bianca has explained it before, when we expand the app, then our app takes advantage of both screens. And here, when we do this gesture, when our app is spanned across both displays, is when Window Manager is going to give us an information about the window layout info has changed and such which device is our app running on. So in the case that Window Manager says that, hey, your app is running, the window layout info has changed, is because our app is running in a device with a foldable capabilities or hinge capabilities. So then we can realize that our app is spanned, so it's running across both displays, or it's running in single screen mode. If we run this sample, this test, this code, what we are going to see in single screen mode, the posture of the device is just open. We have the device open, and then as you can see here, the window layout info is empty. It's empty because our app is not span across the hinge, across both screens. So window manager doesn't know that there is this device, it has a hinge. So then we can, with that information, we can think, okay, we are in single screen mode. But then when we span our app using the interaction that Bianca has explained before, as you can see here, the posture is still open. We haven't changed that. But now the window layout info is not empty. Now it gives us information. It tells us that it's a hinge device, and then where the hinge, the boundaries of the hinge, where the hinge is located, as you can see with the coordinates. So with this information, since we know that our app is running in a hinge device, for us means that our app is in span mode. When we rotate the device, then as you can see here, the information basically is the same. The posture hasn't changed. The window layout info still has content. It says that it's a hinge device, but now the boundaries of the hinge, they have changed because where the hinge is located in terms of how our app is displayed is different. And then the same info, since we have window layout info information, then our app has been spanned. A part of the window manager from Jetpack, we in the Surface Duo team, we also have implemented a set of different libraries that will make your life easier. One of the libraries is the Surface Duo layout that will create single screen or dual screen containers to hold your UI. What does it mean? It means that Surface Duo layout is a layout where you can define one layout that is going to be used when your app is running in single screen mode, and one layout that is going to be used in the left side of your, in the left screen when your app is in span mode, and another layout that is going to be used in the right screen when your app is in span mode. How we can use the Surface Duo layout? So as you can see here, main activity, set content view, nothing new here, nothing code, no code, no extra code. The key here of the Surface Duo layout in this example is here in the XML. Here we used our Surface Duo layout custom component. And here is where we define app single screen layout ID. So this is the layout that we are going to use when the app is in single screen mode. And then when our app is in span mode, here we define the layout that is going to be used for the started screen, left screen, and then the layout that is going to be used for the end screen. Also, we provide a set of attributes in order to help you in the design view. So for instance, here, tools screen mode, single screen, you can see that the layout displayed is the one that you set up as for single screen mode. And then when the app is in span mode, and you set up the attribute to dual screen, you can see the two different layouts that you did set up for span mode. How the app looks when you run the app. So single screen, when the app is running in single screen mode, it will use the layout that we defined for single screen mode. And then when the app is in span mode, we'll use one layout for one screen and another layout for the other screen. And this is automatically, so you don't have to deal with the hinge, you don't have to do any extra work, super easy as you have seen here. Other libraries, we have more libraries, like for instance, button navigation, tab layout, and so on. And also we are working on many new libraries and many new components and some updates that will come very soon. Last thing that I wanted to show very quickly is how to add UI test. So testing our apps is always really important, no? And when the app is in dual screen mode, is span, we also want to make sure that our UI is what it should, is what the UI that we expect to show to our users. How we can test that? So for that, what we are going to use is just Espresso and UI Automator. That probably you are super used to use it. The key thing here is how to span and unspan. So as Bianca has shown before, there is one interaction that we have to do in order to go from single screen mode to span mode. And this interaction, we cannot do it. We don't have an API. The user is always in control, and it's the user, the one that has to do this interaction. But for testing purposes, we can also mirror that. And how we can mirror that? Using UI Automator. Using Automator, we just create an instance of the UI device, and then we just call the swipe function with the different coordinates that they are going to mirror the swipe function and with a time. And then our app will be spun, will mirror the gesture that we did with our finger, and then our app will be in span mode. And then here is time to test your UI in dual screen mode. We also, of course, can unspan the app in this case to the left side with different coordinates. We have everything in our docs, so don't worry about these numbers. We already have everything in the docs. And then once that your app is in single screen mode, you also can check that the UI now in single screen mode looks as it should. And that's all from our side. Last thing I wanted to show you is about some resources that we have. Our main documentation, we have code samples for Java and Kotlin in our GitHub repositories. Then also we have our hero apps with more like kind of real world apps that follow dual screen patterns. We have also our Surface Duo SDK libraries, as the Surface Duo layout that I showed you before. And then also we have a Surface Duo tech community where you can ask questions, Surface Duo blog, where every week at least we post one article, and then our Twitter account where you can follow us to know everything regarding dual screen development, foldables, and Surface Duo. And that's all from our side. Now it's time for questions. Of course, there is no questions here. You always can reach us through the different channels that we have shown before, Twitter, our tech forum, many different ways that you have. Also through GitHub, opening issues, checking our code, commenting the code, and so on. So we're always here to listen and to learn as well.
And I also want to mention that afterwards, we also have a workshop with live coding. We are waiting for you there as well.